Could this election end the American dream for thousands of Jamaicans? For decades, Jamaicans have chased that dream, moving to the United States for opportunities they couldn't find back home. They've built lives, families, and entire communities, contributing richly to America's cultural fabric. But today, with the stakes higher than ever, the future of that dream hangs by a thread. With immigration policies up for debate and two very different visions for America, the question isn't just whether Jamaicans can thrive in the United States, but if they'll be welcome at all. To understand how we got here, let's take a quick look at the long, winding history between Jamaica and the United States. This relationship stretches back over centuries, marked by both cooperation and tension. Through trade, tourism, and a shared love for music and sports, Jamaica and the United States have cultivated close ties. However, it hasn't always been smooth sailing. Every US presidential administration has influenced Jamaica differently, impacting trade deals, foreign aid, and immigration policies that shape the lives of Jamaicans on both sides of the Caribbean Sea. One of the more notable interactions was when then-President Donald Trump met with Caribbean leaders, including Jamaican representatives, to discuss a range of issues from trade to security. The meeting was intended to strengthen ties, but not everyone saw it that way. Some felt it symbolized a power imbalance, with the United States seeking allies for its own agenda. Fast forward a few years and we have Vice President Kamala Harris, a woman of Jamaican descent, meeting with Jamaica's Prime Minister. This historic moment held promise, especially for Jamaicans in America who hoped her roots would inspire policies that uplift both nations. But as we'll see, the reality is far more complex. Now, let's get into the heart of their stances on immigration, an issue that could make or break the future for thousands of Jamaican families. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump stand on opposite ends of the immigration spectrum. Harris has publicly supported pathways to citizenship and has shown empathy toward immigrants, especially those from places like Jamaica. She recognizes the hardships and the determination it takes for families to start fresh in a new land. On the other hand, Trump has been vocal about his stricter stance, advocating for tighter borders and even proposing an end to chain migration. This policy, often used as a lifeline by Jamaican families, allows immigrants to bring over their immediate relatives. For Jamaicans, who often rely on family networks, chain migration is crucial. Without it, many families could face long separations or worse, the impossibility of reuniting in the United States. Imagine the impact if chain migration were eliminated. Families would be left divided, with loved ones separated by thousands of miles. For a Jamaican community that relies on close family ties, this isn't just policy, it's personal. And here's the thing, that's just the beginning. Stay with us because soon we'll be delving into how proposed changes could drastically alter the landscape for Jamaican immigrants. We're just scratching the surface here. Now consider this. Approximately 250,000 Jamaicans are living in the United States without legal status. That's 250,000 people who've made America their home, but live with constant uncertainty. These individuals are woven into American society, working, raising families, and contributing to their communities. However, under a Trump presidency, their future looks grim. His policies emphasize deportation and stricter immigration enforcement, a stance that puts many undocumented Jamaicans at risk of being uprooted from the lives they've built. But it's not just about them. For every undocumented Jamaican, there are family members, friends, and entire communities who'd feel the impact of their sudden absence. The ripple effects would be felt across both countries as families are torn apart and local economies, both in Jamaica and Jamaican American communities, are disrupted. And here's a staggering fact. Jamaicans send over $2 billion annually in remittances back home, a lifeline for many families in Jamaica. Imagine how a crackdown on undocumented Jamaicans could shatter that essential support. Before we move on, if you're finding this video valuable, consider hitting that subscribe button. It's a small action, but it helps us produce better content to keep bringing you important topics that matter. Thank you for being part of Thriving Threads. Now, let's talk about where the Jamaican American vote holds power. Jamaican Americans are spread across the United States, but their highest concentrations are in states with substantial influence on election outcomes. In New York, Florida, and Georgia, Jamaican Americans represent a significant voting bloc. These aren't just any states. Florida and Georgia, in particular, are known battleground states. A shift in voter turnout here could swing results one way or the other. For the Jamaican community, these votes aren't just about choosing a candidate, they're about choosing a future where their families, friends, and communities can thrive. For years, Jamaican American voters have focused on issues like immigration, economic opportunities, and social justice. In the current political climate, these issues are more relevant than ever. Immigration policies, healthcare reform, and racial equality are at the top of their list, as these directly affect their day-to-day lives. This voting power gives Jamaican Americans a rare opportunity to advocate for policies that align with their values, support their families, and ensure that their voices resonate across generations. And believe it or not, this is only the beginning of what's at stake. Up next, we'll dive into the inspiring role of Jamaican American leaders and the promises and limitations of Kamala Harris's Jamaican heritage. These aren't just symbolic gestures, they're pathways that could redefine the future for Jamaicans in America, so stick around, because what's coming next will shed even more light on why this election could be a game changer. Jamaican Americans are not only casting votes, they're also stepping up as influential leaders and advocates for their communities. Figures like Yvette Clarke in New York and other prominent Jamaican American voices are increasingly vocal about policies affecting Caribbean Americans. These leaders champion causes that matter to Jamaican families, from immigration reform to economic opportunities. Their impact goes beyond just policy. They're shaping the narrative around what it means to be Jamaican in America. This growing influence represents a powerful shift, showing that Jamaicans aren't just observers in US politics. They're key players. With the current political landscape, these leaders are more important than ever, standing up for issues that directly impact the Jamaican community. The role of Jamaican American leaders is invaluable, but the prospect of having someone as high profile as Kamala Harris adds another layer of potential impact. As a woman with Jamaican roots, Harris brings representation to a level that many Jamaicans have never seen before. When Harris met with Jamaica's Prime Minister, it was more than a diplomatic gesture. It was a symbol of possibility, of the power of heritage and identity in shaping policies. Jamaicans hoped that her ties to Jamaica would mean greater empathy and understanding of issues facing their homeland. While her role as Vice President comes with limitations, there's a sense of pride and hope that Harris might advocate for policies that support Jamaicans both in the US and abroad. But here's the big question. Can Harris's Jamaican roots really influence her decisions when it comes to immigration, investment, or development policies that affect Jamaica? Some believe that her heritage might sway her to support initiatives that uplift Jamaica, such as investing in Jamaican industries or pushing for programs that strengthen ties between the two nations. Others are more skeptical, pointing out that US policy is ultimately driven by American interests, not personal heritage. While it's unlikely that Harris could make sweeping changes just for Jamaica, her presence still serves as a beacon showing young Jamaicans what's possible. Yet for all the hope tied to her heritage, the reality remains complex. Stay with us, because later we'll explore the challenges she faces and the limitations of this symbolic power. Now, when we talk about policies that could benefit Jamaica, one area often overlooked is diaspora investment. Jamaicans in America have long been sending remittances back home, helping family members and supporting local businesses. Imagine if US policies were designed to encourage even more investment from the diaspora, especially in sectors like tourism, agriculture, and technology. Such policies could help create jobs in Jamaica, reduce the economic need for migration, and foster a cycle of prosperity within Jamaica itself. This is something Kamala Harris has hinted at supporting, as stronger economic ties could benefit both nations. However, as promising as it sounds, this vision remains largely theoretical. It's a hope rather than a reality, and for many, that hope is enough to keep pushing for change. But let's be real. While investment policies could offer long-term benefits, there are more immediate challenges at hand. Anti-immigrant sentiment has been on the rise, and for Jamaican immigrants, this is more than just political rhetoric. It's a daily reality. Trump's stance on immigration has fueled a tough environment for immigrants, particularly those who don't have legal status. This sentiment has a ripple effect, making it harder for Jamaican communities to feel secure, even those who are legal residents. For many Jamaicans, the American dream is no longer a guarantee of acceptance, but a struggle to prove they belong. Imagine living in a community where you constantly feel scrutinized, where any change in policy could jeopardize your security. This is the reality for many Jamaican immigrants under stricter immigration enforcement. In contrast, Kamala Harris has spoken about creating a more inclusive society, where immigrants feel valued and integrated. This difference in approach is stark, offering two very different visions of what it means to be an immigrant in America. For Jamaican families, this isn't just a policy debate, it's a matter of survival, of being able to live in peace. And yet these sentiments are only part of the larger story. Ahead, we'll reveal how Jamaican culture plays into this dynamic and why even those contributing positively to American society face biases that are hard to shake. Speaking of culture, Jamaican influence in the United States is undeniable. From reggae and dancehall to jerk chicken and athletic achievements, Jamaicans have left a lasting mark on American culture. This cultural presence has helped Jamaicans gain visibility and respect, but it's a double-edged sword. Despite these contributions, Jamaican immigrants still encounter biases and prejudices. Some Americans may appreciate Jamaican music or food, but hold biases against immigrants in general, creating a complex dynamic where acceptance is conditional. In Trump's America, these biases have been amplified, while Harris's vision leans toward embracing diversity as a strength. Think about it. A culture so celebrated and respected, yet its people still struggle for acceptance. This contrast is a reminder of the ongoing challenges that Jamaican immigrants face, even as they contribute positively to society. It's a difficult line to walk, being visible and celebrated while still fighting for equal treatment. And this brings us to the question of identity, belonging, and how much Jamaicans are willing to fight to keep their American dream alive. There's more to uncover, so stick around as we explore how Kamala Harris's heritage could shape her policy approach and what that means for Jamaicans on both sides of the Caribbean. Jamaican Americans have also left a mark on United States culture through the arts, sports, and music, which plays a powerful role in shaping how they're perceived by society at large. Reggae and dancehall aren't just genres, they've become international symbols of freedom, resilience, and self-expression. Figures like Bob Marley and Usain Bolt have brought Jamaican culture to the world, and for Jamaican Americans, this cultural power has helped establish a sense of respect and admiration. But here's where it gets interesting. The influence doesn't stop with music or sports. Jamaican voices have also shaped cultural policy and representation in the media, advocating for authentic stories and voices to be heard. This type of representation can shift perceptions and challenge biases, creating a richer, more accurate image of Jamaicans in the United States. In recent years, more Jamaican American artists, filmmakers, and writers have gained platforms to showcase their heritage. They bring Jamaican stories to the screen and stage, not only increasing visibility, but also helping to bridge cultural gaps. Imagine a future where Jamaican Americans continue to shape United States cultural policy, bringing attention to Caribbean perspectives and ensuring that the representation of Jamaican heritage is more than just a stereotype. This level of influence doesn't just contribute to the arts. It's an opportunity to advocate for policies that respect and acknowledge the contributions of Jamaican communities. This cultural power is something Kamala Harris herself can identify with as someone who represents multiple cultures. And there's more. Stick around as we explore how Jamaican economic power in the United States could influence policy in unexpected ways. The economic impact of Jamaican Americans is another compelling angle. Jamaican Americans are business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals who contribute significantly to the United States economy. Their purchasing power alone is substantial, and they play a vital role in industries from real estate to small business. This economic influence isn't just about dollars and cents, it's about the potential leverage Jamaican Americans have to advocate for policies that support their community. Consider the impact if Jamaican American business leaders and organizations came together to push for policies that support Jamaican interests, from fairer immigration practices to stronger trade agreements that benefit both nations. In this election, the question is whether Jamaican Americans will leverage this economic influence to demand changes that align with their values. Increased political awareness within the Jamaican community could lead to a stronger push for policies that foster economic cooperation between the United States and Jamaica. After all, economic ties benefit both countries, supporting American industries while empowering Jamaican communities to thrive. And while Kamala Harris's heritage might not guarantee these shifts, her position can be a powerful signal that communities like the Jamaican diaspora are not only welcome, but essential to America's success. We're not done yet, keep watching, because up next, we'll explore how United States climate policies affect Jamaica and why Jamaican Americans might play a crucial role in pushing for environmental change. Finally, one of the most overlooked aspects of United States-Jamaica relations is the impact of United States climate policy on Caribbean nations like Jamaica. As a small island nation, Jamaica is particularly vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Rising sea levels, hurricanes, and other extreme weather events have threatened its tourism industry, agriculture, and coastal communities. For Jamaican Americans who still have family and friends back home, these environmental challenges aren't just statistics. They're a reality that impacts the lives of loved ones. In the United States, Jamaican Americans have an opportunity to advocate for climate policies that consider the needs of Caribbean nations, pushing for legislation that supports global environmental initiatives and provides aid to countries facing climate-related crises. Imagine a future where the United States, led by politicians who understand the Caribbean perspective, allocates resources to support climate resilience in Jamaica. This could mean funding for infrastructure, disaster preparedness, and programs that protect Jamaica's natural resources. Kamala Harris, with her roots in Jamaica, might be more attuned to these needs, potentially advocating for initiatives that align with the interests of Caribbean nations. The Jamaican American community has a voice that can be used to push for these environmental policies, ensuring that the future of Jamaica's landscapes and communities remains protected. And that's the power of representation. It's not just symbolic, it's a real opportunity to advocate for policies that reflect the needs of the Jamaican people. Thank you for watching and being a part of this discussion. If you enjoyed this video and want more in-depth looks at topics like these, be sure to subscribe to Thriving Threads. Let's keep this conversation going, and remember, together we can make a difference in shaping policies that uplift both our communities and our homeland. Click any one of the videos on the screen to check out even more insightful content. Thank you and bless up yourself.